Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Enchanting Lawyer podcast. This is Jacob Sapochnik, your host, and we over the past few episodes we had very interesting people who were non-lawyers or recovering lawyers, and I wanted to get some more lawyers on the show, get some emails from people that want to hear interesting stories about creative attorneys who do amazing things in their fields, and today I have an amazing attorney from New York, from the East Coast, and today we have Leslie Tayne, and Leslie is launched her law firm in 2001, which is one of the few New York State law practices concentrating in debt management, debt resolution, and bankruptcy alternatives for consumers, small business owners, and professionals who are in need of help with managing finances. She's a highly respected consumer and business debt-related expert. She's often called upon by the media to comment on vest-related money and debt topics and issues. And among the various news outlets, she has interviewed with USA Weekend, US News, World Report, the New York Daily, Forbes, Huffington Post, and many, many others. And she's often on TV, on the radio, and she has a new book that she launched, my first book. And I'm very excited to have Leslie on the show. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, thanks so much for having me today.
Excellent, very exciting. So, like I said in the beginning, there's something about lawyers who are doing amazing things outside of their practice and innovating that excites me and excites a lot of our listeners. And I'm always curious to find out, why people are doing what they're doing. So, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself? And why did you want to become an attorney?
Sure. So, like you started to say, I am an attorney. I practice on the East Coast, mostly in the New York metropolitan area. And my practice is quite unique. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. I started out wanting to be a lawyer from day one. When I went to college, I wanted to be a lawyer, and that was my sole focus and goal. I made it to law school, finished law school pretty quickly and very young, and I started out in my first real law position, doing some criminal defense work. I was only there a short time. It wasn't what I really was looking for, and I ended up taking an in-house counsel position for a national debt resolution company. Mm-hmm. I sat as in-house counsel for a couple of years and said, I can do this better and I can do it differently, and I had so much thought about how I wanted to have a particular law practice. So I opened up my own practice and it begun. I had no idea where I would end up, but here I am, and I have a very successful practice, a unique niche practice. It's not a common practice area, but it's something that I'm very passionate about. I enjoy doing, and it has led me down a number of different roads for sure.
Excellent. So, you have and you have a one practice area which you focus on in bankruptcy and debt resolution. Do you think that did you think about this, that you want to focus on one thing, or you in the beginning you thought about maybe I can do several things? What is the reason that you focus on this one area?
Well, what happened was a number of years ago, around 2006, the laws changed here in New York. So I had a little bit more of an open idea about taking on different types of cases when I was first opening my practice. So some real estate, other things like that. But what happened was, due to the nature of the type of business that I'm in, basically in debt resolution, they changed the laws here in New York and required lawyers to have practices dedicated completely to the area of debt resolution. Otherwise, you needed to seek out a specific licensing through the New York State what is now the Department of Finance. It used to be New York State Banking Department, but now as the Department of Finance, you needed a license to do certain debt resolution work in the state of New York. As an attorney, I then focused my practice solely in that area. So then my practice became a niche one practice area concentration. And here in New York, just so you know, we are not allowed to call ourselves experts or specialists. So we say that we have concentration areas.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
And I refer to you as an expert, but since I'm in California, I guess I can allow myself to do that, right?
Yes, you can. Right. You can call me an expert when it comes to the my knowledge in the book and things like that. But when it comes
Right.
to attorney practices, we're advertising and marketing our practices. We cannot call ourselves that.
Excellent. Well, see, one more thing that I learned. I always learn from my guests, which is nice. So, Leslie, I always like to ask that question, especially the attorneys that I interview on the show. What do you think is the real reason clients hire you every time they do that?
Truthfully, I think the real reason why people hire me is because of me, because of my passion, my knowledge. I have been doing this a very long time. I know the debt world. I know debt. I understand it. I live it, breathe it, think it, eat it. And I understand how to get people out of debt and to rework their financial circumstances so that it's now positive instead of negative. And I think when people sit down with me, they feel that they can trust me, they feel they can relate to me, and they feel that I'm going to do the best possible job for them.
And so, when they walk into your office, when they see your articles on the blog, you feel that they get that sense that they come there because of what you do and what you project to the outside world.
Yes, that's true. They like my persona. They like the concept that I really am focused in this one area. And I think that makes a very big difference when, it's no different than, let's look at it from a doctor perspective. So
Right.
you go see, if you had a heart condition, you wouldn't see a podiatrist or a foot doctor or even a skin doctor. You would want a cardiologist. You wouldn't want somebody who does a little cardiology, a little this, a little that. You want somebody who really understands the heart and knows how the blood goes in and out, what makes it tick, and what they can do for you to help that heart live in a healthy way for a very long time. And that is essentially my practice and persona, that this debt is the heart of what I do. It's the only thing I do. And even though I know some other areas that are related to that, obviously tax issues, things like that, and related to divorce issues and bankruptcy, I know some of those areas. I don't practice in those areas, but I do practice debt. So knowing that inside and out, as a consumer and as a client, that gives them so much more confidence in my ability to do what they need to get done.
Excellent. And I like the way you stated so confidently that you actually know why they come to you. And so many attorneys are kind of still guessing, trying to change whether their marketing, whether their approach, the way they run their offices. I mean, I think it's very important to know why people want you, why people hire you, because that really gives you a validation that you do something correct. Which is very interesting.
You need to know who you are.
Right,
I think
exactly.
It's not just being an attorney. I mean, I have an attorney hat that I wear 24/7. I mean, you're an attorney, I'm an attorney. That's who we are. It's not like we go to a job every day and then we leave it behind. We're attorneys. Right. So I think like an attorney. I speak like an attorney. My thought processes are in that way every single day when I'm dealing with everything. But I think that as an attorney, it's more than that. It's more than what you learned in law school. It's more than the material. It's the connection that you can make with the clients, and you have to truly enjoy what you do. And I meet a lot of attorneys who simply don't enjoy the work and they don't like it. They're not happy. And without having that piece of it, I don't think that your clients can. Yes, they come to you because they're desperate, let's say in a criminal situation, but that doesn't mean that they're happily working with you. And I want my clients to walk away with a different experience.
Right. And like I said, it's if you're not completely satisfied or confident in your abilities and about you as a person, whether you're an attorney or not, it's very difficult to counsel others to take action, and in this case, legal action.
Right.
So I like that.
There's an honesty piece of that too. You have to be honest with yourself in terms of the limitations that you have with a client, and honest in what you can deliver. You don't want to oversell and underdeliver as an attorney. That's where you make unhappy clients. So you have to manage those expectations as well.
Absolutely.
So I hope that when I network and I meet other attorneys and accountants and other financial people who make recommendations to their clients to come see me, that they understand that they when they refer somebody to me, that client is going to get the best of me when I'm doing the work.
Absolutely. So, Leslie, I mentioned that you started your own law practice in 2001, and I'm curious, what about practicing law did you learn the hard way? And I think it's an important
That's a
question
very
to
good
ask,
question.
and I'm curious to hear what you have to say about that.
Dealing with clients, I learned the hard way because you can't make everybody happy, and I really even despite doing my best work, and I always do my best work. There's nothing that I don't do for any client that isn't my best work. But to have somebody turn around and say, you didn't do the right thing by me, you didn't do a good job. I've had to thicken my skin over the last 20 years of practicing because I do my best work, and and even though there's a positive outcome from your perspective, you were successful. It's like, again, let's go back to the doctor reference. Let's say you're going to do surgery. You save that person's life, but they end up with a scar, right, from the surgery. The patient says, I don't like the scar. You didn't do a good job. How could you close me up and it looks like this? But yet you saved that person's life, and they now have quality of life. I have the same problem sometimes in my practice area where, I do great work, and they don't like the little scar that's left from going through the process. And even though I tell people that in the beginning, that there are, what to expect, it was that piece that I had to learn the hard way, is how not to take it so personally when somebody says to you, I don't like the work that you did.
Right. Which is not, you don't want to hear that, but, you have to look at why they told you that, right? So it had to come from you because you didn't understand their client. So I think it's,
well,
yeah.
That means as a practitioner sometimes, it's a good point, saying no to certain people.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, you don't want to say no because you want that person as the client. You want clients, so you don't want to say no. But as you start to get smarter and you start to age in your practice area, you have to recognize that there are some people that you could never help, despite you thinking you can help them, that in the end they're too costly, and you have to say no. So that's something that I've had to learn along the way too, is learning to say no to certain people.
Right. And I think it's very difficult, especially when you start, because if somebody is willing to pay you that money and that can cover your rent or can help you pay your receptionist, it's so difficult to say no. But once you understand how to do it and you do it often, then the practice changes. And I'm sure that it happened to you, and I know it happened for me as well when I was building my law firm.
Yes, no doubt that you take in people because you want the business and you feel you can help them, but sometimes it takes some time to learn to read people too.
Right, absolutely. Which is, it's a skill that you develop, or you can learn it. Now, Leslie, a lot of the emails that we get, questions about, most of those questions about marketing and getting clients and leads. And I wanted to ask you, first of all, what is your strategy as far as building your marketing? Getting people to know about your law firm and hire you. So why don't you share with us a little bit about your strategy of marketing your business and how do you do it, and then we can talk about some specific things that you do.
Sure. One of the things that I feel is really important is to be involved in the community and meet other professionals in your community that can refer business to you, getting to know you. So my practice, we try to be out at as many networking events and getting involved in the Bar Association events and be out there to explain what it is that we do and get people to know and feel comfortable with you. I mean, that's a huge piece of the marketing, a few piece of the marketing strategies. So one of those things that we also do is we have a tremendous internet presence. So we're always doing SEO and content marketing and trying to put as much information out there about us in the practice area so that when people do searches that they can find me and they can find the practice easily. You want to be available to that. So that takes a very long time. I mean, I've been doing that for quite a number of years, and it takes time and patience. And you have to. It's like planting in a way. You have to drop the seeds in, and they have to grow. But you have to learn which ones to cultivate because you can't cultivate everything, and you're only one person. And even if you hire other people, there's only so much you can do, and things have to grow organically. So that means that it takes time to build up these pieces of the marketing puzzle, and it's frustrating, no doubt. You can supplement with advertising, but in my personal opinion, I don't find the advertising is very helpful. I don't see that people they know it's an advertisement. You have to do a lot of it. It's very costly, And I think our efforts are better spent on finding other markets to go to and explaining clearly what we do, because it's not just that I do debt resolution. So what does that really mean to you?
Right.
It's getting people to understand how I can help their clients when they have problems.
And the because our market is so competitive. I mean, there's so many attorneys in every field. The paid advertising has become definitely less effective unless you spend so much money, because there's just so many people out there, and the consumers, they don't spend so much time choosing those people that are paying for ads, because there's just so many of them. So I think, like you said, if you provide good content, if you provide valuable information, they'll read it and they'll connect with you because they feel that you gave them something of value. And the other thing that I find interesting about you and your firm is that, I mean, we the first time we met was at a marketing conference, which I think there was probably a few lawyers at that conference, maybe you and a few others that I met. And that's it. So it tells me that the state of mind of thinking is that you found it important to come to a conference that has no attorneys there, but they teach you the cutting edge changes in marketing, because you want to take advantage of that and make sure that your customers, your future clients are going to be able to find you, because you know what are the best ways to get the information out there. So I think for that I'm very impressed. And another thing, Leslie, why don't you share with us? One of the things that you do is you use Pinterest as an interesting way to engage with people and actually get leads. So why don't you share with us why Pinterest and how you do it?
Pinterest is a very interesting tool. It's not a tool that most attorneys know about.
Right.
Frankly, most attorneys and professionals are not really focused on the marketing part of their practices. They're very old school, and they're still doing the referral from clients and other people. So the internet piece of it I think is very important, because I think that's the wave of the future.
Right.
Pinterest is an interesting type of site because they actually have a search tool. So it gives people the opportunity to search for you. And while you might not think that in the debt arena there are pins that you could create or that you could repin, in Pinterest there really are. There's a lot of things that we come up with creatively on Pinterest that attracts people and that people repin pretty often. So while we don't use something like Instagram, because that doesn't really make sense for our law practice, we do use Pinterest and of course Twitter, and we use Facebook to try to connect as much as possible out with as many people as possible. So we look at different opportunities to see what we can do with it to reach the largest amount of people. And you could do these things, or as a practitioner, one could do these things. It does take time. So it's not something that if you're practicing law, you could do yourself. You need somebody to help you with it for sure, but it can be done, and it can help you grow organically on the search engines and be out there so that people can find you.
Right. And just for the listeners that are not familiar with Pinterest, Pinterest is kind of like a website where you have boards and you can curate content, which is images. And the nice thing about Pinterest is that the images, people can follow you, they can share, and Pinterest has a lot of traffic. I mean, I heard that it's one of the highly trafficked websites that they can send back links to your own website. And so do you use, I looked at your Pinterest, you have a lot of interesting categories. You have personal finance, and we're going to link your page in our show notes, so the listeners can actually see how you do it. So, for example, you have one about credit and debt, but you also have one about dress for success, where you kind of do fun stuff. And if somebody is not interested in necessarily in debt, they may find interesting the shoes that you put there, and you put a link there to something that reminds them that it came from you. So, I'm just curious, Leslie. Do you get any? Do you get leads from that, or it's more of a kind of an exposure SEO wise?
Much more exposure SEO. We don't get necessarily direct leads from it, but it's really for SEO purposes. We try to make it fun too. We try to do that on Facebook, and we try to lighten up the debt situation. It's a bland topic. It's a stressful topic. It's not something people really find particularly engaging either, unless they have to deal with it. And you'd be surprised how many people really don't even understand the world of personal finance, even professionals. But so we try to find interesting and creative ways, and that's why one of the things I like about Pinterest is that you could be very creative with it.
Right, and I think I've been using Pinterest a lot in the beginning, and we kind of shifted I mean, we still use it, but we shifted to Instagram, and in my case, Instagram helps reach an audience that may not necessarily want to engage with us or on Facebook. And I do kind of similar things. I'll put some photos of maybe the office, or just gives you a glimpse into the personality of the attorney. So maybe also in your case, just to kind of figure out like how these attorneys think. They have a nice sense of style. Their family is important for them. I can see you have love and money. You have a parenting on a budget. So I think it gives them a sense of who you are through the photos. And of course, it keeps bringing them back to your page, which is a very valuable SEO factor for you. But I love it. So I mean, I haven't seen any. Do you know any other attorneys who use Pinterest as
No,
at all? I don't think so,
no,
right?
I don't. To tell you the truth,
Yeah. So
most attorneys I know can barely even use Facebook.
right. So I'm gonna coin you as the Pinterest lawyer, just so we put it
Okay.
out there, put it out there to the world. So, but I love it. I mean, and it kind of inspires me to go back and do Pinterest more. Even though I know it's mostly women use it, but I know that it's very helpful for just kind of get the word out there. So I'm gonna jump back into using Pinterest. Thanks to you.
Okay.
Leslie, I wanted to check with you about some of the. We talk about technology and marketing. What are some of the tools that you use on a daily basis that help you practice better? Maybe, I always like to ask that question from the attorneys I interview, just to see some new tips or some new tools that we all could use. So if it's an app that you like to use, or a technology device, just something that helps you, I'd love to hear.
What really helps me are some of my staff members who understand it a lot better than I do, despite,
Right.
and that's really the truth, is that, I'm not old by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm quite young, but I didn't grow up with social media.
Of course.
And even when I went to law school, we didn't have real computers that we were carrying around to use on a regular basis. So, it's something that I've had to learn as an adult. And we all know that when you learn things as an adult, it's this slower learn and a lower learning curve. So it doesn't make it very easy to do. So what I've really done is I have found people who understand it much better than I do, and I've hired them. And it's very reasonable to hire younger people, college-age kids, or even recent college graduates. They just have a much better understanding. So truthfully, to me, and the best advice I can give you is that's the best possible tool. Within that, of course, we use other tools to manage our daily calendars of what we're doing. But that is, again, there's more tools that are done electronically that a different generation understands better than I do. So I have my strengths, and managing the social media is not only as a practitioner, I don't really have the time for that, but I have given that to people who really have a much better understanding, and then I explain what it is that I'm looking for, and they can implement my thoughts and processes, and we can discuss what works and what doesn't work. And I think that's the best tool that you can use, which is really a human tool.
What I like about what you just said is the concept of outsourcing or delegating, which a lot of the attorneys that are listening to the show, and even in my case, in the beginning, it was hard for me. But delegation is the key to success, because if you, like you said, you may not want to deal with the website, or you may not want to deal with posting, so you found good people who can do it, and they get inspired and motivated by what you ask them to do, and they do it. So you perfected the system by finding a good way to delegate, which is a huge tool. And these days you don't need to hire them locally. I mean, there are companies like Elance, Odesk, now it's Upwork, and Freelancer that allows you to do that. So if you don't want to do it, there's a way to delegate, but make sure that you delegate. So that's a great tip. I like that. So
Absolutely.
Leslie, where do you think the practice of law is going right now? I mean, you've been doing this for almost 20 years in different cycles, but I'm curious to hear from you, a person that has managed to get so much success in your practice and using technology and innovation and building connections. Where do you think the practice of law is going?
Well, I can tell you where my practice of law is going, and that is much more in the that Google, Yahoo, living, that type of world,
Right.
which is not really that open out here on the East Coast. It's not the same type of work environment, but I think the practice of law is going to change dramatically because the next generation is the generation of computers and the generation of not meeting in person. They're much more electronically savvy, and that's why the practices have to change. They have to become more electronically savvy. So building that now is helping to solidify what the future brings. And again, it depends where you get your, I think personally, regardless of where you get your clients from or the type of practice that you have, the internet is really the key. And if you're not on the internet and you're not in there, you don't have a Facebook page, and you're not utilizing it to the best of your ability, I think you're doing yourself and your practice a disservice. And it's not that expensive to really take that on.
I agree. I think that it's the days of not seeing clients anymore in person, and the days of communicating in tweets and short messages are coming, and you can see how mobile technology is developing, allowing attorneys to communicate with clients using text messages. So this is just the beginning. So I totally agree on that, and we have to adapt. So if we're not going to be adapting how we communicate with our clients, it's going to be very difficult for attorneys to compete. So I agree with that. So Leslie, I know you've written a book, and I'm curious to know, first of all, why you've decided to write a book. Tell us more about the process, the book, and what has happened since you released it.
Oh, I did write a book. It's called Life and Debt. It took a while to write it. It was a work that was based on my philosophy and theory with my clients, which is that debt is a part of life. You can learn to embrace it, live with it, and make it work for you. It took quite a while to write it, get it together, and then get it published and get it out there. That's just the natural process with books. It just takes time to do that. And obviously I'm running a practice and have a family, so it wasn't the only thing that I was doing. But I did have somebody in my office, somebody who kept me on schedule in terms of getting chapters done and edits done. And I felt very passionate about the work that's in there. I think it's very easy to read. I think it reaches a large group of people. I think it's very relatable no matter what age you are or situation you're in. Even if you don't have debt, it's an interesting way to learn about debt and learn how it can work for you. So it's definitely something that's different. It's not the typical debt help, get out of debt book. It is something that's more of a tool, something that you can use whether you're in debt, not in debt, contemplating debt, like debt, don't like debt, or anything.
And what is the goal right now with your book? You're trying to, because you had a release party recently, and now it's you're going on a publication kind of a tour with the book, or it's mostly available on Amazon and bookstores.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon at lifeanddebtbook.com, but you can definitely get it on Amazon. We recently had we were upwards of 25,000 downloads, so it's a very popular book. It's been #1 in a number of different categories on Amazon, so it's definitely very popular. So I'm excited about that, and it is not something I'm going on tour with, but it's something that I have talked about. When I was in San Diego, I talked about it on TV, and I did have a launch party here in New York that was very successful and a lot of fun. Really, mostly for my supporters here to come see me and talk to me and just celebrate the book.
Beautiful. I like to see that kind of success. And so you would recommend somebody that has something to say as an attorney in their practice to come up with a book if they can during their career? Because what do you feel that it brought to you once you released that book?
I would definitely encourage people to write books. If you feel you have something to write, write it. I mean, you never know where it's going to take you. It's also very therapeutic to write a book and get a lot of the thoughts that you have about your practice, your business, whatever you're doing out there. And for me, it was really about getting that information out there so that other people could share the information that I have, and that it could reach a broader audience than just what's in my law practice. So I was really trying to make a statement with the book and get it out there so other people could share and learn from what I've learned over the years.
Excellent. Very good. Well, Leslie, as we come up to the end of our show, if there's one thing that you could share with young aspiring lawyers, and in attorneys have been doing this for years and they're not happy, what would be one piece of advice that you can share with our listeners that can help them practice better and just be happier with what they do?
Truthfully, do what makes you happy. If it doesn't, practicing law doesn't make you happy, go do something else. The beautiful thing about being a lawyer is that you can do so much with it. You don't have to practice law. Most people don't, but it gives you a great opportunity to understand at a different level than the average person does, and it can take you to great places. Be open to opportunities, walk through doors, let people introduce you. Get out there and network and meet people, and you just never know where your career could end up. I could never have envisioned that I would be in this place that I'm in. I would never have envisioned the practice area, the success, even the book, any of those things. And if somebody had said that to me 20 years ago, I probably would have laughed and said, yeah, okay, I'm going to write a book, sure. But here I am, and now I've written a book, and there'll certainly be more. There's ebooks out there as well that I've written. So just go with it. You only live once, and if you're not happy with the practice area, try something different.
Excellent. I love that. Go with it. And Leslie, can you verbally tell our listeners where they can find you online or how they can contact you if they want to ask you any questions?
Sure. You can find me very easily. First of all, lifeanddebtbook.com is the book. It's taynelaw.com, TAYNELAW.com. Or you can certainly Google me, Leslie Tayne. You will find me all over the place.
Absolutely.
And you're welcome to email me or call me, any of the above. The email is always the best way to get me, and that you can, both websites have email availability, so that's the best way to do it.
Perfect. And we're going to make sure to have links in our show notes to everything you just said. Thank you so much, Leslie. It was a true pleasure to have you on the show, and I look forward to staying connected with you online.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's fun.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning in every week, for your questions, for your emails. I look forward to seeing you at our next episode. Signing off, Jacob here in San Diego. Bye.